Masters of reality, going beyond what's on TV.
Yo, what up? I'm Ben. Welcome to Masters of Reality. And usually I do like a rap for somebody or like a crazy intro, but I kind of just want to like speak from the heart because today's guest is somebody who's become a very close friend. And I feel like I've become the assistant coach to his coach, where sometimes you meet people and it just opens up a world of excellent adventures. And that's who this person is to me. You know him as Coach Benjamin Wade, the Dragon Slayer. I know him as my friend, a sometimes band member, but an eternal ripper. And I'm just stoked to get into the nitty-gritty about what makes Coach Coach. And without further ado, here's Coach.
Dude, I'm so friggin' pumped to be here, man.
I'm pumped too. I'm like actually a little nervous because of how, not like nervous like because I'm like scared. I'm just like so excited. It's like I've been thinking about this like for a while.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to try and treat it like it's a normal phone call we have at like 6 a.m. anyways.
Sounds good. Let's go.
Yeah. So the thing I like really want to get into more than anything else is I feel like, you know, before I got to know you as a friend, I knew you as a TV character, right? And now I'm on the other side of that, and I see how people come up to me on the street and stuff. But one of the things about you is like everything you say is epic. And I think that leads to skepticism from people, right? Like, how can somebody be so epic? And, you know, I know you're the real deal. Getting to know you, you're the real deal. But it's like, I would love to just, you know, hey, Coach, tell us about you. You know what I mean? And you've been on so many epic adventures. And I think that's one of the things I like about, like the most, that's one of the things I like the most about you is that there are some people who let their life pass them by. And then there's some people who just take chances on everything. And getting to know you over the last couple of years, the thing I love the most about that is Survivor isn't even the craziest thing you talk about, you know, and the show attracts all sorts of people that becomes their life. And, you know, it's like, let's get into some of that. I mean, when you were young, do you remember the first time you pushed your own boundaries where you're like, maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe this is something I want to get into? Like, is there a time you broke your arm as a kid doing a stupid stunt or...
Well, you know, like I grew up in a really sheltered environment on one hand. And on the other hand, I was traveling to all these countries because my dad was a world-renowned professor.
Yeah.
And so his books are like at MIT and Harvard and Yale. And he was really smart. I did not inherit that from him. But, you know, we grew up in India and he was part of the underground church in Moscow, Russia, back behind the Iron Curtain. And so I grew up really kind of this life of adventure. But then on the other side, I was like really sheltered because my parents grew up in a Baptist church. And the Southern Baptists say you can't even cook with wine because it's a sin. And everybody knows I have a very strong faith. So I think that kind of permeated through the years. But, you know, I mean, I took half my face off on a skateboard one time. I didn't break any bones. But I was going down our hill and on my stomach and hit a rock and literally was like, shh.
Whoa.
I still have the picture.
How old were you when that happened?
I was like 11, 12, but I didn't really push the boundaries because when I was young, I've always been really driven and I've always wanted to do great things. I think that was instilled by my father at a really young age. If you're going to do something, you're going to do it well. If you're going to do it well, then you're going to have to practice it. And if you're practicing it, then it means you got to have a lot of discipline. And so one of my favorite quotes, a wise man said one time, I'm not wise, but I had it on the back of every friggin' college soccer shirt for like 22 years. And that is, with self-discipline comes success. Because if you don't have self-discipline, then chances are, unless you get really, really lucky, that you are going to do some good things and maybe a few great things, but consistently going out there and trying to achieve greatness and being the best at things is something that's really important to me. So at a young age, you know, I was really focused on the trumpet. just like the guitar, the trumpet has been my best friend. And if I had actually brought my luggage with me today, which I left up there, I had jackets. I actually did have my trumpet packed. I left all that north of Reno. So I literally have the clothes on my back. But my trumpet was my best friend. I remember standing in front of the assembly in 7th grade, right before we left for India. And they were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be the best trumpet player in the world. The whole school laughed at me. They were like, what a
I know that
stupid
feeling
thing,
well.
yeah. But it was like, I really held on to that. And I said, I'm going to work until I achieve that. So kind of my daring, if you'd say, besides the skateboard accident and a few other things, was really trying to be dedicated to my craft. And once I did that, it was like this pre-planned, you're going to take over your grandfather's company, you're going to become a multimillionaire, and you're going to move out to LA because nobody else is going to inherit the company because my uncle shot down twice in Vietnam at 21, POW, MIA, and he came back and got a vasectomy, like at 21 or 22. So he had no kids. So I was the guy to take it over. And I found out early on in my early 20s that I didn't care about money.
Yeah.
And so that left me with a void of searching, kind of these wandering years, this enormous vision quest, which led to all these other adventures. And my father said one time late in life, he said, why do you have to take all these kayak trips and risk your life? And I thought about it for a second. I said, Dad, this is on you. You were sitting there passing out Bibles in the underground church. One Bible at that time would get you 10 years in the Lubyanka, where they tortured and killed Americans, right? I mean, there was no coming outside the Lubyanka.
So insane.
He was doing that
Yeah.
when I was 7 and my
Yeah.
brother was 8. So you can't sit there and say, you can't go on adventures. So anyway, I think that kind of led to that next chapter that you're referring to. And that is these life or death situations that I put myself into to try to create this vision quest on really what am I going to do for that next chapter in my life.
Yeah. I think for the people listening to this, like vision quest is a term that's used for people that kind of go to the brink, whether it's with like ceremonial psychedelic drugs or putting yourself in the wild free from any modern technology. It's like a place to completely clear your mind and make it a blank canvas. So what comes to you, the vision or whatever, can hopefully become like your North Star. Sick about the trumpet. If I can take it back just a second, there's a lot to cover. But for those who don't know, Coach plays trumpet with me sometimes, and we've played crazy venues in New York and Fort Lauderdale, and we even played Disneyland. And you are incredible at the trumpet. And there is something, I think, for whether you're a musician or an artist, there comes a time where you have like a fork in the road, and it's like you either commit to what you want to be and what you want to do, or it forever stays casual. But when things forever stay casual, I feel you go through life with kind of no meaning, waiting for something to happen. And it's great to be passionate about something because it will lead you to other opportunities, such as shredding. But back to the vision quest itself, it's like playing trumpet young, father dropping like the whole company on you. What was the first inkling none of that was going to work for you? Like what pushed you to be like, I don't know about this. Let me go throw myself into the wild.
First day on the job.
Yeah.
I graduated from the University of Tennessee, go out, and it was my uncle's company, not my dad. It was my mom's brother. And so I'm sitting there the very first day on the job, and my uncle comes up to me, this salty veteran, and he was like, by the way, your college degree, which he did not have, and 50 cents might not buy you a cup of coffee. I don't care about your degree. I don't care about this. And then he proceeded to just put me under his thumb as much as he could. And so really from the first day, I was looking at these guys working in this machine shop, and they couldn't wait for that 9:30 coffee break.
Yeah.
They couldn't wait for that 12 o'clock lunch. They couldn't wait. And I was like, man, this is not a way to live.
Totally.
Like you got to be passionate about your job. So really early on, I was 21. And so I worked for a couple of years, quit that job. And then it was like, what next? I got a business degree. I really wanted to coach. That was like when I was 18, I started coaching my fraternity intramural teams at the University of Tennessee. I started making people call me coach at 18. Okay. And so it was like, that's what I wanted to do. but I didn't have experience and I didn't get a degree in kinesiology or sports management. So what are you going to do? And I thought, well, I got to do something great. I got to do something crazy. And so I was in an Atlas. You're going to love this. I was cleaning carpets, kind of managing this company, a buddy of mine. And I was looking at the Atlas and I was looking at the San Juan Islands. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to go kayaking? Had never been kayaking, didn't own a kayak, to go kayaking with the killer whales. That would be a cool experience. And so I turned a page and lo and behold, oh, like the Holy Grail, Baja California, the Sea of Cortez. I'm a huge reader. So Ernest Hemingway comes out at me and I'm like, I got to go down to the Sea of Cortez. Turn the page from Baja California, there's Mexico. I've said, why stop there? I might as well just keep going. The next day, I quit the job. I shaved my head because I didn't want any distractions. I started the shaved head, whatever. Broke up with my girlfriend, bought a used ocean kayak, and I started training for hours every single day. And this was like in March of 96. So my first big trip was actually on the Sea of Cortez. And I went 6,000 miles. There's a couple of books out about that trip.
Yeah.
No Turning Back and A Voyage Beyond Reason. And so big thing in the news for 1 week, LA Times was on the front page and all the news stations came down. This is when being on the news meant something.
Yeah.
Right. This is 96. And September 13th, 1996, I left Baja California, San Felipe, and I started heading south. And I was like, I would do this trip no matter what. I will not come back until I succeed. And it friggin' sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, it was rough. But beautiful.
I imagine it's beautiful, but it's kind of crazy on a whim. You're just like, all right, I'm going for the kayak. We're doing this whole thing. As you're getting ready for a journey like this, what's coming to mind? You're revisiting Hemingway. Are there things on a checklist other than just doing the trip itself, places you wanted to travel through? Or you just were like, I'm going into the great unknown. I don't know what this is going to be, but whatever it's going to be will be something epic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't have any place. I mean, there's not that much to see. It's all desert in the beginning.
Yeah.
Then you go over to the mainland and then it's, a big town every 7 days paddle.
Yeah.
The loneliness was crippling.
Yeah.
But the loneliness was also very revealing. And I want to talk about that a little bit.
Oh,
because,
I would love to.
It was really a moment that moments that defined my life. I didn't expect it to be in the papers. Somebody told the Orange County Register and then the LA Times and then all the news people came down and that all happened about a week before the trip. I was just doing the trip to just get away, clear my mind and pit myself against something that seemed impossible. And every one of those news channels came down and they asked me the same question. This is a fool's trip. Certainly you're going to die. They literally said that. They were like, this guy's going to die. And they said, what is going to keep you from dying and allow you to succeed? And I said, I will die trying, because when things get tough, that's when I complete the task. That's what I said. Mask, hiding behind.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought about myself. And one of the most amazing things, I turned 25 a week and a half after I started the trip. I was 24 when I started. And so I go down and I'm 7 days into the trip. I'm south of Puertecitos, which is a no-name town in Baja California. And I get caught in this storm. There's a storm coming up. Hurricane season is starting to happen in the Caribbean and sometimes comes over into the Mexico side. And so I was in the storm. I paddled for 4 hours and I was looking forward, because when you're on a kayak, you're going slow. So if you look over at land, it feels like you're not going anywhere. It's kind of a defeating exercise. So I put my head down and for 4 hours I paddled. The blisters on my hands, they were opening up raw, and the wind was whipping all over the place. And I look over to the shore after 4 hours and I'd gone backwards a mile.
Oh, wow.
And I literally was like, I'm done. So I go over to the beach. Nobody's there, just me. And I sit on the beach and I just put my head in my hands and I start weeping. And I'm like, I'm a failure. I'm going to go back. And then the little devil on my shoulder said, if you go back, everybody's going to, make fun of you. You're going to be a laughing stock. You said you're going to do this trip. Nothing was going to, stop you. And then I start reflecting on my life. You see, I stripped away all the shackles of society, the daily waking up, getting into the grind, what you're going to wear, who you're going to talk to, what job you're going to do. I stripped all those away. And I got down to who I was on the inside. And I started thinking about my life. Best trumpet player in the world at the age of 17, quit that. A friggin' awesome baseball player. I never talk about this. Scouted by the White Sox when I was like 14 years old. They flew down to Knoxville, Tennessee to watch me batting 700. Quit that. My uncle's company, quit that. I realized on that beach south of Puertecitos that I was a coward and a quitter. But it was an aha moment in my life because I said, I'll be damned if that's going to define me for the rest of my life. I'm going to take that weakness and I'm going to work on it so much that it becomes my strength, and I'm going to take my existing strengths and I'm going to be invincible. And I'm going to accomplish every single thing that I put my mind to. But if I had not taken that trip, I would not discover that that was my weakness. And I was basically lying to everybody saying, oh, I'm so tough, I'd never quit anything, And it was a great moment that really started to define who I was from then on out. I picked myself up, stopped crying, got back on the kayak the next day, and friggin' manned up and went for another 6 months, 6,000 miles, and ended up down in Colombia, South America.
It's funny because I feel like most people in their 20s, all amazing. That's not funny. But what I think is funny about most people at that age in their life is we're so existential. A lot of people are trying to make a name for themselves in whatever industry it is. You go to music school, art school, whatever, you get out, you realize there's not a lot of work. We quit, we self-regulate. It becomes the great masking. And you find yourself at a cornerstone in your life and you decide to unmask. And you commit all the way. And like the Coach we all grew up watching on TV, where it's like edited and it's all skeptical and whatever. I always kind of dealt with that as a kid too. I was always the one being like, I want to go on tour. I want to be the best guitar player in the world. And I think a lot of people when they do things like that, they get laughed at, right? And it either becomes a motivator to compartmentalize and assimilate, or it becomes a motivator to go all in because you are forced to think like, well, what am I dealing with if I'm dealing with all this, negativity from people? And one of the things I love the most about you, now that we've worked on projects and hung out plenty of times, is that you really do commit. And it's the people that push through those mental barriers, that make it to that finish line, whatever their finish line is. And I think anytime I try to write in my own music or in my art, that's what I'd love for people to take away. It's like, it's your life. Who cares how other people think about it? And you got to do the things you love, and you're going to face your own demons in your own journeys. And for me, I'm talking about like crying on the couch on tour, eating Taco Bell, like hoping like, we sell out a room or that there's at least 20 people. But for you, it really is life or death. You know what I'm saying? And not only are you faced with these epic tales that are insane, you go and turn it into a full-on legend and go on for another 6 months. So like now that you've gone through that, mental portal and you're really deciding to lock in, as the young people say, what's next from that period through the end of that 6 months where you're all blistered up and you're deciding to give it your all? What happens after that moment? If you feel comfortable talking about it.
Amazingness, really. It was still, the in the beginning, should I even say this? You guys are not going to believe it. Well, Marco Polo, 1323, on his deathbed. I didn't tell half of what I saw, for I knew they would not believe.
Yeah.
But I came back, through that trip, I came back and I went through all this stuff. If you look at Castaway and you think about how Tom Hanks goes through this moment of disbelief, anger, I can do it myself, I cannot do it, and I'm going to face basically end of my life scenario up on the rock with the tree where he's going to hang himself. And then he pushes through that and becomes invincible. There's a reason why that movie hits so accurately, and it's because that's exactly what you go through. And it was beautiful to go through that and to continue the trip, and so many cool stories of drug runners and a friggin' hurricane, October 13th, Hurricane Hernan. I mean, moments where I thought, these are the last few seconds of my life. Tell you a story about an angel.
Okay.
Kind of away from the kayak, but it's really cool. So, you got to put yourself in the 90s, right? The internet is like in its infancy. Email is like just barely a thing. And so you have no idea. I didn't have a radio. I didn't know what the weather was coming. I didn't have any idea what was going on in the world. And here I am just cruising down in southern Mexico. And back then there was a state of Chiapas. And I don't know if you know about this, but in the 96, 97, the state of Chiapas, they were taking anybody that was foreign. They were taking locals. They were taking Americans, whoever else that was coming into this territory of the Chiapas. And it was like a guerrilla rule over this town. And they were just freaking executing people, just walking through the streets. There's documentaries about it. The drug cartel just walking through the streets, just killing everybody. Okay, so here I am, here's my kayak, chain it up, and I just take a bus, and I'm like, I just want to see some of Mexico, a little bit of the interior. I had no idea that was going on. It was in the state of Chiapas. So I got on this bus.
It's also pre-internet 90s, like.
Nobody knows what's going on, right? I'm sure that there were travel warnings issued from anybody that would care to go to the...
Well, you also didn't go via airport.
Well, this is true. I was just me. I had no idea what was going on.
You rode in.
Oh, yeah. So I rode in, and I take this bus, and I'm just going inland. And all these people on this bus are looking at me like I'm friggin' crazy, right? And that sixth sense that we kind of develop when we're traveling the world starts to get on the fibers of my skin. And I'm just like, some shit's going down. I don't know what it is, but I'm committed to the course. I'm just going to keep riding this bus till I find a town or something. I'll get off and get some food and interact with people, because I wasn't really seeing anybody.
Yeah.
Every week I would see some people, but for the most part I was just by myself. And people are looking at me, and then more people get off the bus, and then more people get off the bus, and we stop. And on the map, I went back and looked, and this is literally the next stop. You're in that territory of all these people that were just being executed on the street. And this guy walks on the bus. And as he walks on the bus, it's not like, looking around. The guy walks on the bus and looks right at me and says, "Get off the bus." And I was like, well, what do you mean? What, where, how? He's like, "Get off the bus right now." The bus driver starts, and he says in Spanish to the bus driver, "Stop the bus." The guy's pissed off. He says, "Stop the bus." In Spanish, he says, "Stop the bus." The guy stops the bus, and he was like, "Get off." And I'm like, "Where am I supposed to go?" He was like, "Walk across the street, go to the bus station, and catch the next bus out of here." So I freaking, man, I mean, it was like,
the intensity must have
yeah,
been.
so it was unreal. It was a really unforgettable moment. I got off the bus, walked across the street. That bus went on. That guy stayed on the bus, or maybe he disappeared, because I feel like he was an angel.
Yeah.
And I waited for the next bus, went down. When I got to the next town, which was like, what was the next town? It was like the Gulf of Tehuantepec. And so I went to the next town, and then they were telling me about everything that was going on in Chiapas. So surreal moment. So there's like moments like that where one way or the other, it could have gone south for me.
And you're here to tell the tale, which is sick.
But see, so the Amazon is just like a blip.
Well, that's...
And like the whole survivor, people are like, as you said, a lot of people become identified as, this is who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Bollocks to that, man. I mean, it's like a tiny blip on the adventures that I've done. And whether Jeff believes it, when he was like, "Certainly, coach, 7 or 8 or whatever, near-death experiences, that's impossible." Hey, man, I don't care.
Well, it's like there's some people who go on the show because it is their great adventure.
For sure. And that's awesome.
And I think for people like you, and way smaller for people like me, it's like, oh, here's just another one we could do. It's like, it was never my great goal to go on the show.
Exactly.
I'm super glad I took the trip and am having tons of fun with it. But it's like, when I got to know you and we're starting to talk about Survivor, it's like, I think we stopped talking about Survivor after like the second phone call.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? It's, I don't know. I love where we're at now.
I do too, man. You've given me a really cool, you said when I went to Miami and then we performed in Fort Lauderdale, you said to the band, you were like, "Coach is going to discover the rock career that he never knew that he wanted or something like that. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah.
I love that, man. That resonated. I was like, this is like the coolest thing. I've done so many fun things in life, but being on stage with you and the energy that you produce. And, you know, I don't hang out with posers. It's in one, you know.
Neither do I hope. You know?
You don't. But man, I got to tell you, dude, like I'm super, like most people maybe know this, I'm super reclusive. I don't talk to people. I don't put myself in the network. I certainly don't throw my hat in for survivors and try to hang out with that world just because for me, it's healthy to be hiding out in a small town in Northern California and just trying to, you know, be me. But you really have pulled me out of that reclusivity because you're such a genuine, authentic, honest, bringing light to every freaking person that you meet. See, I become sometimes too inside the box. We're on in an Uber. You know, sometimes I'll talk to the Uber cats, but literally this guy just says to the driver, come in here. Boy, dude, what's the craziest thing you've ever done? Like, what's happening? I saw it with the chaperones at Disneyland. These people that some of them, you know, had they ever been out of Susanville? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they had. But, you know, they're in the small little town and they're chaperoning a drum line to Disneyland. And you made them feel like freaking rock stars. And that's your gift. Making everybody around you feel the light and the magic inside of you that you're trying to translate and transpose on other people, even if it's just for a few moments to make their life better. And that's what attracted me to you. That's what attracts everybody to you. And I'm like, I'll come out of my hermitage and I'll come down here and do this show. And then I'll come and play on stage with you. And I'm now thinking, Ben, what's next? When can I jump on stage with you again and grab some of that magic?
You should perfectly. I'm so bad at taking compliments that it's funny you talked about all those.
You're the freaking real deal. I'm not just saying that, man. I purposely do not hang out. I don't like most people. The older I get, man, the more I dislike other people because they're none of those things that I mentioned. You happen to epitomize all of those things in spades. And it attracts me to you mightily.
Thank you. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard for me to take compliments, I think, due to just being made fun of as a kid. And, you know, you internalize so much. And it's like kind of what you were talking about on your journey where you're calling yourself a coward and things like, for running away from situations. I find myself, even to these days, like, you know, I don't look in the mirror and have conversations with myself, but I'll definitely go on these long walks or take psychedelic trips and, you know, be like, why do I feel this way about myself? You know, and I think for me, I'm genuinely so curious about life and meeting people. And I feel like even the most boring person can be fascinating or can have done something fascinating, you know, and I just, it's like, I know it's my catchphrase, but I unironically do love to chill hard. You know, it's like,
for sure.
I don't want to get to the end of my life and not understand how other people lived. It's like, I want to know what makes the world go round, you know? And when you came to Fort Lauderdale to perform, it was, for me as a fan, because that was the first time we met in person, I was like, this is sick. But there's also something about just knowing that you're on stage with people you fully trust that allow for unique things to happen. I mean, I'm Jewish. I went to your house for Thanksgiving and we chopped down my first Christmas tree. It was cool. It's like every time, as you call yourself a recluse, but even coming to you, I'm learning to drive for the first time. You know, I'm chopping Christmas trees. Like everything's still an adventure with you, you know? So I'm very grateful that we are homies.
I do have that. I still have the video of you driving for the first time. You drove my square body Chevy Blazer, and I filmed it. It's like this big lifted Chevy Blazer, a square body, right? And I got a cool car collection. He was like mobbing out on the road.
As Black Sabbath say, if you listen to fools, the mob rules. But it's been cool. Every time I see you is great, even now. And one of the things that I feel like I felt really endeared to when we started to get to know each other is a lot of people don't know what you dealt with while you were on the show. You know, if you're cool with talking about this, it's like, it's really hard to go on a national show now when there's social media. But the thing about social media is we're all aware it brings out the worst in people and there's people hiding behind screens. The first time you went on Survivor, first time you went on that show, social media was I don't even think was in its infancy, you know? You were on the show at a time where print media was dying, right? And people could write on Yahoo blogs or MSN or AOL blogs. And the average person wouldn't be able to discern between an actual article or somebody's independent blog. And you go on the show, you tell your story about the trip in the Amazon. You're this unbelievable character right out the gate. Survivor hasn't seen, you know, the confidence, like the intensity of really, you know, it's like the first few seasons, yes, you have these quote unquote villains like Richard Hatch or something. But it's like you go into Survivor with an understanding of people who don't have a concept of themselves yet. And, you know, I think people were fascinated by it, but there's also this like unironic, extreme earnestness and extreme intensity that I think people who've never, I don't know, I don't want to speak for everyone, but for the criticizers, it's like people who see somebody so comfortably in their own skin going to such extremes will cause such reactions. And at the time that's when you were working as a soccer coach, right? And regardless of what happens on the show, you're dealing with like a change up in your life and reactions from things like blogs or reviews of the show. Like, I feel like for the viewer at home, and especially for me, even though I didn't have much controversy or anything, but one bad comment can throw your whole day off. What was it like going through something like that in the late 2000s?
You know, you brought up a good point that, you know, print media was dying. People could get away with stuff and they would think that it's a fact.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, as you know, when you go on Survivor, when the cast is first released, it's a media frenzy.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to find out as much as they can about the cast. And I think it's a tribute to the show. People really want to know who they're watching.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, we're in their living room every week. So they're like really, they want to get to know us outside of the show. So there's like this media frenzy of people searching, what are people doing out there? And so I went out there as a college soccer coach. I was coaching in the NCAA. I was bringing in a lot of international players. I had worked with the Barbados national team, the St. Lucia national team, the Bahamas national team. I'd professionally coached as an intern down in Argentina. And so I was used to stepping into a room and all these international players and coaches thinking, this guy doesn't know anything. So having to prove myself. And, you know, you don't prove yourself to your team as an NCAA soccer coach or to the people that are sitting there watching you coach these national teams saying, well, you know, guys, I really think that we should run a 4-3-3. Now, I mean, I want your opinion, or maybe a 4-4-2. No, you say, by the way, we're running this system because this is what I ran in Cameroon when they won the gold medal in the Olympics, running the 3-5-2 in 1999. Another story for another day.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you got to go and say, I know exactly what I'm talking about.
What you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I went out there. Exactly. So I went out there on Survivor, had never watched the show. Thank goodness, because I probably would have, you know, taken the easy way out and not tried to lead from the beginning and not tried to cause as many waves as I did. But going out there, and I thought, why is this opportunity dropped into my lap? Because it really did kind of drop into my lap. And I think you know the story. My soccer players submitted my profile for The Bachelor. And The Bachelor sends me an email to which I took great umbrage and said, by the way, Mr. Coach Ben Wade, we don't feel like you're the right fit for our show. I was 37 and single. I'm like, what's wrong with that? But they were like, but you should apply for Survivor. And it's interesting looking back on it now, an ABC show suggesting to a future contestant to go on a CBS show, right? But they said apply for Survivor. So I just did like everybody else, went to the CBS website, and I thought this must be fate. I watched a few episodes before I went on, and I watched enough to realize I want to make this survival of the fittest. I want to make this about honor and integrity. And I, you know, overused those words way too much, but I came in with a certain approach to the game. And people friggin' hated it. And there was a chat room on the CBS that they monitored, and that was going away. And so people just really, there was this time where people were just very, very hateful and negative every single day. Kill yourself. I hate you. You know, I mean, just like ridiculous hate, male in the mail, on Facebook, wherever it was, and just like just a continual barrage of hate. And so, managing that, coming back, getting fired from my job, and then never.
And you got fired from your job over this.
Absolutely.
Right? Because they couldn't tell the difference between, an actual character assassination scandal versus, here's some dude just commenting.
The article that hurt me the most, as far as my career and my reputation, was Reality Blurred. Andy Denhart wrote an article early on, and he said, Coach Wade, crackpot or crook? And he said, this guy's a pathological liar. Even though you can still look up today that I'm on the front page of the LA Times, and there's all these news articles about me. I'm breaking the world record in Honduras, newspapers, so like there's all this documentation, but he literally called me a pathological liar. I got fired. And at that point, no NCAA university would touch me before, like nobody, not a bit. Even now, if I applied for a job in the NCAA, I've been blackballed. And so here I am coming off a high of being on the show, thinking I was going to be doing good things out there, thinking that, hey, my philosophy of life, maybe I can help somebody. Because really that was my motivation for going out there. I never thought I'd win the $1 million. I didn't care about the $1 million anyway.
It's like, that's why people watch the show anyways. It's
exactly.
Like they don't watch it for, people like me sitting and listening Metallica songs.
Well, no,
you know
they
what
do.
I mean?
No,
they do. But
do.
You know what I mean? Like,
they do.
I think about when I watch Survivor, it's like the players I love are the players that go and do shit. It's like what makes the seasons memorable. Sometimes you have these seasons where everybody gives themselves permission to play, and then it's like the equivalent of watching people play Monopoly or Twister. There's no drama or, social element that really gets something out of people. And there's some seasons where new players come in, whether it's you or Parvati or even Carolyn recently, where, there is this other side to life we deal with but don't indulge in or don't see as much every day. And it makes it way more fascinating to watch, And so you're getting out, you're dealing with that. This guy calls you a crackpot or a crook. You can't get other jobs in that industry. What happens then?
I put the mask back on.
Yeah.
I put the mask back on. I said, I'm okay. I didn't talk about it at the finale.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to go get an agent. I'm going to do some movies, and then Heroes and Villains calls.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm just trying to assimilate on what I'm going to do next. I mean, I worked so hard to get into the coaching field to have that taken away from me.
Yeah.
But I just pretended like it was all right. And even though it hurt me, it hurt my family. It hurt my dad stopped watching, like he said, just making a jackass out of my son on national TV. So he stopped watching, so I just didn't have that support. And what am I going to do? So I went down, I was living in down here, did some really bad movies, 180 being one of them. But, I thought maybe this is going to be what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
We'll get whiffed off onto Heroes and Villains, come back from that, did another movie. I'm up in Susanville where I conduct my symphony, and I just met my wife, and she was my girlfriend at the time. They called me to go back on South Pacific. And when I was on South Pacific, I'm like, look, being down here is not grounding me in reality. And I got to get out of there. And I went. And so then I chose to move back to Susanville, this little tiny town that you've been to, chopping down Christmas trees and having some spatchcock turkey on Thanksgiving.
True. We played charades too. I just want to throw that out
awesome.
there.
Yeah, my grandmother-in-law, she was a legend, just making up her own clues.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was like, all right.
What was this one again? It was like hot dog or something, but she just kept going like this.
She was crazy. Anyway, so then I finally was like, let me get my priorities in order. I should not be identified by anything other than who I am on the inside and the light and magic that I can bring to other people.
Yeah.
So I just kind of buried all that hurt. It still surprises me when I meet people like you and other survivors that say, wow, we really love you, or we loved your character, because I just got so much hate. It still is a little bit mythical. I don't know if I truly believe that I'm not a laughingstock or a fool to the rest of the survivor world.
We covered so much ground today. It's almost like we crossed the Amazon in stories, dude. And I just hope everybody at home enjoyed. And Who knows when you're going to see us next, whether it's on the road or in a comic book or a cartoon, but we will be out there. And last time I just want to say, I love you, dude. Thanks so much for coming to chill today. And I can't wait till we rip again.
Love you, man.
Love you.
You are awesome.
Nah, you, dude. We can do this back and forth till it fades out. You want to do positive affirmations?
Ben, first of all, your goatee is so freaking sexy right now. I just can't even stand it.
Ben, I love the way you rock your silver into black. I love the way that you take your elegance to another level, man. You own what it means to be a man who's lived a hard life.
Your chest hair, the newly formed chest hair in the last couple of years that is creeping around that tattoo. I believe it's a Motley Crue, right?
Yeah.
It's so sexy. And the silver chain and the knife that's hanging there. It's just the aura of positivity and magnificence that's flowing from your luscious locks to the earrings is something else, man.
Ben, I love your way with words, how you make everybody feel like the most empowered version of themselves, whether it is my luscious locks or my silver chain or my chest hair. You always inspire me to rock my hardest.
I appreciate that. You're the only person that will call me Ben and get away with it. Namaste.